Hello, my name is Pam Dobbs, and I will be discussing the Transtheoretical Model and how it can be applied to the medical condition osteoporosis. This image shows the stages of the Transtheoretical Model. The Transtheoretical Model assesses an individual's readiness to change. It begins with pre-contemplation and moves clockwise towards maintenance. These are the stages that an individual would progress through in order to initiate a behavior change. It's important to note that a person can enter and exit each stage and that regression to a previous stage occurs quite often. There are four key constructs of the Transtheoretical Model. The first one is the stages of change. These are 6 stages that focus on the preparation and effort required to move toward a healthy behavior. The second one would be the processes of change. These are 10 techniques that help an individual move through each stage. They address how changes in behavior occur, and these can be either cognitive or behavioral. The third one is decision balance. This weighs the pros and the cons. It's important to note that the benefits must outweigh the cons or the cost. Self-efficacy is the last one, and this is just the belief or confidence that an individual can change a behavior. The stages of change encompass 6 steps. Each stage will be discussed in the following slides. Pre-contemplation. As you can see from this little picture, a person is unaware that a problem exists when he or she's in this stage. They have little knowledge of the consequences of their behavior, therefore they're not ready to make a change. Alternatively, the individual may have tried to make a change in the behavior in the past and failed. As an individual enters the contemplation stage, he or she is aware that the problem exists and is considering making a behavior change. The change in behavior may take place in 6 months, or it could possibly take much longer. The pros and cons are weighed, and the pros need to outweigh the cons to move forward in changing the behavior. The pros and the cons will vary depending upon the type of behavior and will be individual to each person. Determination and preparation. In this stage, an individual intends to take action to change a specific behavior in the immediate future. He or she is actively planning to change the behavior. This stage may include developing a plan of action and the development of a group of supporters to help facilitate the change in behavior. Action. In this stage, effort is put forth to change the behavior and the individual actively practices the new behavior. This usually takes place within the last 6 months. In this stage, if the person is not successful in activating the plan, or if he or she terminates the change in behavior, a relapse will occur and the individual re-enters the model at a previous stage. In this stage, maintenance and relapse, an individual works hard to sustain the change in behavior. He or she attempts to resist relapsing into the previous or the poor behavior for at least 6 months. It's important to continue to focus on the pros rather than the cons to encourage the individual to continue the plan of action. If the behavior change fails in the maintenance phase, he or she can re-enter at a different or a previous stage. The processes of change are 10 techniques that help an individual move through the stages of change. You may ask yourself, how do changes in behavior occur? The answer would be through activities and experiences utilized to render a change in behavior. Seeking information can come from a variety of sources. It can come from friends, family, computer. Hopefully, if they're Googling reputable websites. It can come from infomercials. It can come from brochures, books, newspaper articles. We're just inundated with information. And what we need to make sure is that we have the correct information. Counter-conditioning. This involves finding alternative solutions for a problem behavior. Examples could be relaxation, desensitization, assertion, or positive self-awareness. It's important to know that the solutions will vary depending upon the type of behavioral change that needs to be facilitated. Dramatic relief. In step 3, an individual expresses his or her concerns or feelings about the problem behavior and seeks possible solutions. This is commonly performed by talking to others who have experienced the same behavioral change. It is during this phase that key answers to critical behavioral changes can take place. Step 4 is environmental reevaluation. This is the consideration and assessment of how problem behavior affects the physical and social environment. Ask yourself, how does this affect me? Does it affect me physically, mentally? Does it affect others in my family, in my workplace, in my community? How will this affect me now and in the future? And how will changing my behavior positively affect others? Step 5, helping relationships. This involves trusting, accepting, and utilizing the support of caring people during attempts to change the problem behavior. Support groups are crucial to many people in order to achieve success in behavioral change. Many groups utilize support groups, such as alcoholics, who utilize Alcoholics Anonymous, drug abusers, diabetics. Multiple different medical conditions require support groups. Support groups offer answers to problems and the sharing of knowledge, and most importantly, accountability. Reinforcement management. Small rewards at regular intervals can be an incentive to encourage the behavioral change. The rewards do not have to cost money. They can be an afternoon with a good book, an afternoon spent on the beach, or it could involve treating oneself to a healthy dessert or something along those lines. Decide, commit, succeed. Choice and commitment to change the problem behavior is crucial, including the belief that you can change. If commitment is not present, the behavior will falter. Also, without confidence that a behavior can be changed, many people are setting themselves up for failure. By expecting to fail, they will fail. Step 8 is self-reevaluation. It involves emotional and cognitive reappraisal of values by the individual with respect to the problem behavior. Step 9, social liberation. Awareness, availability, and acceptance by the individual of alternatives and a problem-free lifestyle in society. Lastly, the last step is stimulus control. Having control of the situation is crucial. If a person feels they do not have control of the situation, they are likely to fail in following through with the behavior change. The third key construct is decisional balance. This involves weighing the pros and the cons of making a change in a current behavior. Self-efficacy is the fourth and last construct. This involves the individual belief that they can change their behavior. Now we'll discuss a current health issue affecting millions of women in the United States, osteoporosis. I will be applying the key constructs and processes of change found within the Transtheoretical Model. What is osteoporosis? To give a brief definition, it occurs when bone mass is lost faster than it's replaced. It's the most common form of metabolic bone disease in which bone mass reduces by age, and is often known as the silent thief, meaning that a person does not realize that they have the disease until they have a broken bone. It is recorded that $22 billion is spent annually on medical costs related to osteoporosis alone. This figure represents the percentage of women and men who have osteoporosis in the United States. As you can see from the image, there's a drastic rise in the prevalence of osteoporosis between the ages of 50 and 89 in women. The figure rises from 6.8% in the 50 to 59 age bracket to 34.9% in the 80 and over. Common risk factors for osteoporosis include, number one, just being a woman. Secondly, as we age, our risk increases. If a person is white or is Asian, they have a higher risk. Family history plays a role, as does small body frame size. Hormones play a large role. Decreased sex hormones or too much thyroid can increase your risk for osteoporosis, as well as low calcium intake, eating disorders, GI surgery, and medical conditions such as lupus and cancer. Lifestyle choices also affect the risk of an individual acquiring osteoporosis. These could include a sedentary lifestyle, excessive alcohol consumption, and tobacco use. For our study today, we're going to focus on a sedentary lifestyle. With our focus being on a sedentary lifestyle, or a lack of physical activity or weight-bearing activity, I included a map of the United States. This map depicts the average activity levels of Americans. Many states report a significantly lower or a less than the national average rate of activity compared to the rest of the states. Multiple studies have been performed to determine if the use of the Transtheoretical Model was effective in promoting an increase in physical activity among women. Researchers have concluded that previous studies support the use of the Transtheoretical Model as a tool to increase physical activity in obese women, and that applications of the Transtheoretical Model have positive effects on physical activity in those with osteoporosis. A separate study performed showed that utilizing the Transtheoretical Model was successful in increasing the physical activity level of those who were inactive or had a low activity level. These researchers found that by breaking a behavior into small, manageable steps, that would increase their success in changing the behavior. The study was broken down into 4 components. The first component was to develop and administer a questionnaire or a pretest that assessed the level of physical activity. A second questionnaire was given to the participants to assess the current stage of change. The third step was an intervention that included 5 sessions with a trainer pertaining to endurance and strength training, aerobic exercise, walking, balance, breathing exercises, verbal encouragement, and CDs for home use. To determine if the program was successful, the researchers performed 3- and 6-month post-tests. The examiners found that using the Transtheoretical Model increased self-efficacy. It decreased the cons, which could possibly be lack of time, a hectic schedule, the money it would cost to buy equipment or have a gym membership. It also proved to be an effective factor to move from contemplation to the action stage, and it proved that breaking the stages of change into small, simple, practical steps was effective. So how does this apply to osteoporosis? Many people who have osteoporosis do not know that they have the disease. For many, discovery of the disease comes with their first bone fracture. These people lack knowledge and understanding concerning the disease. For those diagnosed with osteoporosis who do not have an exercise regimen, it is important to encourage regular weight-bearing exercises. The pre-contemplation stage refers to those who are uninformed about the need for an exercise program, who are currently not exercising, and who do not plan on beginning an exercise program. The contemplation phase involves becoming educated or aware of the problem. It's important to identify benefits of a behavioral change. These people are currently not exercising, but they may begin to exercise within the next 6 months, and they are weighing their pros and their cons. Does it benefit them to make a behavioral change? An individual must weigh the pros and the cons when deciding to implement a behavioral change. Possible pros and cons for initiating an exercise program to combat osteoporosis would be increased bone density, decreased expenses in healthcare cost, and increased energy levels. On the con side, a cost of a gym membership or exercise equipment, time, and possibly fear of trying a new workout routine. Once the pros outweigh the cons, an individual will be propelled to move forward with the behavioral change plan. The determination and preparation phase includes intending to take action within 3 months. This person has determined that the pros outweigh the cons. and they have decided that they want to become healthier and reduce the risk of bone fractures in the future. Finally, it's time for action. This individual begins the exercise program and maintains it for at least 6 months. Having a support group or an exercise buddy aids in accountability and helps to reinforce positive behavioral change. The last phase is maintenance or relapse. The continuation of accountability is a necessary component of maintenance. Individuals must make a daily decision to perform the new behavior. Continued focus on the pros or benefits will help to reinforce the new behavior. My intervention plan for individuals with osteoporosis or for women over the age of 50 who may be at moderate to high risk for osteoporosis includes conducting a series of 6 meetings at local hospitals as part of educational series sponsored by the Hospital Association. At each meeting, it would be important to demonstrate exercises that participants can easily perform to build their confidence. So by providing exercises that participants could take part in right then, making sure that the exercises are easy so that they could be duplicated at home is also important to build confidence in the participants. The third phase would be accountability. By offering regular meetings with the same group of attendants, an opportunity for friendships to develop will be provided. This offers an outlet for accountability and continued interest in the program. By partnering with a local hospital and wellness center, I would hope to offer memberships at a decreased rate for at least the first 6 months. There's also the possibility that some participants may have medical compensation for utilizing a wellness center based on some insurance policies or programs. The last phase would be continued encouragement. Each participant would be encouraged to continue with a healthier lifestyle. This can be accomplished by routinely introducing them to new exercises to keep their exercise regimen fresh, and also to focus on the positive outcomes of the new behavioral change. By focusing on new exercises that can be implemented, hopefully they won't get bored with the regimen that they're using, and by focusing on positive outcomes, they'll continue to see the benefits of their behavioral change. My 3 key takeaways from today's presentation is basically keep it simple. It's important to know that if a behavior is broken down into small, simple steps, it's more easily achieved. It's also important to remember that an individual may fluctuate between the stages of change before achieving the maintenance phase. Do not give up on these individuals. For some, it just takes longer. Thirdly, even though maintenance phase is achieved, it does not indicate that the individual will not regress. If an attendant does regress, continue to encourage them to get back on the wagon of a healthier lifestyle. Thank you for listening to my presentation.